What I'd like to know is about rivalries, right? Since we're talking about big rivalries.
Fuck the
Drew
shit.
McIntyre, who is part of the rivalry of the year and match of the year because of that rivalry.
Mm.
Do we think, and I'll start with D'Lo because you're on the top of my screen. Do we think that the the WrestleMania decisions for him changed because of the fan outrage?
No, I knew that was no, it was not. I
No.
don't
Well,
because
I
I
thought he
thought
would
they
have.
was going
I
to
thought he
drop
yeah.
him.
I thought he would have won last night, but as far as like the direction they're going because of what he said about Logan Paul and or LA Knight and being pissed and like wanting the Damian Priest angle to go over well and it being thrown under the bus and pretty much now both of them are in the chamber which could spark Damian versus Drew anyway.
But it's on the same brand, so you could see two big names they going at it. So that's one of those little showcase ones if they're going to do that.
But
But
then now what I want to ask is this what Drew truly deserves after having probably his best heel run of his life?
nope, 'cause he got bigger fish to fry.
That's what
But
I'm saying. Like respect to Damian Priest, but like if Drew's not fighting for a title right now, they're wasting it.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
It might be Drew's idea to keep getting screwed out of titles over and over and over because that is phenomenal fuel for a heel to keep coming
Actually,
out
his
and being the heel.
gimmick being that, yeah, he's a crybaby, as they say. Yeah.
Right, right. And again, the more they paint him out like that and the more he keeps losing, the angrier he's going to get. So I don't necessarily see him losing a lot as a bad thing. And I almost imagined the WrestleMania match with him and Priest was going to end up with somebody screwing him over without Priest even knowing. Like, I feel like Punk will hide under the ring or just come out, and abjectively sock him in the face with a brick or something. You know what I mean? Like, just to throw him under the bus, just for no other reason than to add insult to injury.
Be
So
petty, yeah.
I think they should just keep going with what they were going with, man. Priest is going to put on a good match no matter who you put him in there with. And, the same can be said of McIntyre. So
Yeah.
let them have their match, but then let McIntyre come, again, that close to victory and have a good guy come out and screw him over. Then he'll have more to be angry about.
And this is the interesting thing, right? It's because if he's mad about them wanting to set up a thing with Damian Priest, why not just harken back to the fact that Priest is the one that cashed in on McIntyre last year anyway?
Yep. Yeah, and I
So
think
why have
that's
they not
part
made
of it.
that
He's
connection?
part of why he's losing so much focus on the main prize because he's got all these distractions. He's got Priest, he's got Punk, he's got everything else in the way, and all he wants is that shiny gold belt.
This
Which
is the thing that
really, if they ever flip him to a babyface, this is going to make a great sympathetic story. Looking
yeah.
back at it through that lens, but it's weird that they're building him up almost like a sympathetic heel.
Mhm. But here's the weird thing about me, right? Is that it's the same gimmick with every top guy now. Like last year, Roman chose to hit Seth Rollins with the chair and risked his and end up losing his title because of it.
Yep.
Because he's a petty guy who wants revenge. And then you have CM Punk, petty guy who wants revenge. Drew McIntyre, petty guy who wants revenge. Damian Priest,
Brilliant.
Finn
Savant
Balor
who wants that
keeps
title.
fighting him. Finn Balor keeps being this petty guy that's fighting them. So it's like,
jealousy. I'm more
It's
jealousy.
still it's better than it was 10 years ago when it was literally, I don't like you, I want that gold thing. Like from at least they're putting more effort into it than the basic, the very basics of it. But I agree, it could use a little more diversity in why these people are all grumpy at one another. Like Seth Rollins and Roman, I get it. Storied history, lots of stuff there. Drew McIntyre and Punk, I get it. But it's like people are completely losing focus of Damian Priest and Finn Balor and everyone else who's been kind of in and out of the entire feud the whole time. Like I think it's going to culminate in a swerve that leaves Damian Priest with a belt and leaves a lot of people confused.
Well, what I think is going to culminate in is that the Elimination Chamber is pretty much going to be all of these different storylines at once. And then I'll go to Keith and ask the same thing after I say this. But what it seems like is that Elimination Chamber is like hitting 5 birds with one stone. It's you get John Cena's moment in the sun with CM Punk and with, with everybody else that you'd want to see him with.
Right.
Maybe Roman. Maybe, there obviously is going to be an interaction between CM Punk and John Cena because that's one of the big marquee things that happened in the last like 50 years, for being honest. Like one of the biggest things that's happened was that. And maybe Randy Orton gets in, and then you have a Randy Orton beefing with Drew and Randy Orton beefing with this person and that person. And it's kind of
Orton's going to be beefing with KO too at some point.
Which I still think is the main event, not the main event, but I think it's the WrestleMania match that Orton and Kevin Owens at some point. But Keith, how do you feel about the direction Drew's taking, considering that he was going into WrestleMania last year as champion, and now he's they look like they're scrambling to figure out a big match for him.
Yeah, so I've just been kind of taking in all your guys' different points, and I was trying to keep everything in my mind that I wanted to say as either counterpoints or agreeing. So I'm going to do my best to not be jumbled up while I'm doing this. There's a lot of information. But first of all, I think that the whole LA Knight thing was a work. I mean, they literally used it on the following SmackDown. I feel like that was just, to give LA Knight a little rub, keep him relevant after he dropped the belt. Or did he drop the belt, or is he still the champ? He dropped the belt to Nakamura, right?
He got the belt a while ago, though.
Yeah. So I think they just, that was just to give him a little something to do. And I think that the title picture is so crowded right now. There's so many guys who are performing on a high level who could all go for the belt. And I think with Drew, they've kind of been working him out of the title picture as it was because he's been more concerned with proving that Roman Reigns is a cancer than going after the belt anyway.
Yeah.
So he wasn't necessarily focused on the title as it was. And kind of the same situation with LA Knight. Damian Priest needs something to be relevant. And having a good match with Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania will make him relevant. So I mean, because he's kind of been in a freaking no man's land too, just with this thing with Finn Balor that's not really going anywhere. Like, how many times are those guys going to fight each other for,
I think JD McDonough's injury kind of threw a monkey wrench into a lot of the Judgment Day plans. I feel like as soon as he got hurt, they started spinning their wheels because they didn't know what to do.
Because Dom was clearly going to leave, and there was a lot of stuff that was going to happen. I feel like, but yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad move. I think that Drew and Priest will have a good match. I think it'll, over on 2 nights of wrestling, who knows where it'll fit in as far as best match of the night type of thing. But I think it'll be really good. I think they're not going to disappoint, and Drew wasn't really in the title picture anyway.
Here's my issue with this, right? There's 2 congruent issues.
Yeah.
Issue is that you have all this main event talent just for Jey Uso to shoot up over all of them.
Yeah.
And I understand giving the rub to the person who's literally been carrying the both brands on his back. I understand that. And giving him the rub, and then you obviously want to see that Cody Jay or that Sammy Jay embrace at WrestleMania. It'll be like a good feel good coming together. But the weird thing is that when the heck are we going to have the Drew Roman? When
Right.
are we going to have the CM Punk?
Right.
When are we going to have all these matches that we're supposed to have that all of these are leading to? The Seth Roman. Like every single one of these.
Yeah, that's the big one. When's that?
That's the real. They need to run
Yeah.
it back. That's what I'm saying. They need to run it back.
And we have no idea what Roman is going to do for the Elimination Chamber or for the WrestleMania at this point.
Yeah. It'd be more likely to happen if Roman actually showed up on some weekly shows, you know.
It would be a little bit of a cheap thing to have like a fatal four-way with Roman, Seth, Drew, and CM Punk. It'd be like a cheap way of doing it, and they're already doing that cheap thing with putting John Cena automatically in the Elimination Chamber, so he gets all of his feuds.
I hope they're smart about it, and I hope we actually get some really good matches on Raw and SmackDown out of this, because that used to be the way they would build up to WrestleMania, was they would shock you with a title change 2 weeks before, or a faction change a week before, or something like that. Like they would really ramp it up. I and again, I know you're sick of hearing about it, but in ECW, any match, any one-on-one match could impromptu become a three-way or a four-way dance. And I'm telling you,
that's one of the things I hated about ECW.
That was one of my absolute favorite things about ECW, because only because it was always elimination style. It wasn't just one pinfall takes it. I hate that kind of four-way or three-way match. You give me an elimination style, I'm all right with it. So, I kind of hope we get an unannounced 3 or 4-way dance at WrestleMania.